Oh, and it looks like the fun is just getting started. So we need to look at some technical analysis today as we get into the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, AMC, and GME, just to pay attention to those for a second, because overall, we are still in a very positive trend, and we are actually giving out a notification over on Patreon to discuss a signal to watch out for in case we are going to experience some kind of downward move. Now, daily expected moves were very cool for this, so we got some updated daily expected moves, and we're going to talk about the ones from today, so let's get into it. SPY, great way to start the day, right? You love those gap ups that, take you outside of your daily expected move, because that means prolonged positivity, but we were looking for a retest of that daily expected move, and we ended up landing just on it, pretty much right on it. So we're paying attention to the fact that the 30-minute was able to cross. You even got some little 5-minute weakness points in here, but overall, this was looking like, hey, most likely, where are we pointing right now? Well, the 30-minute is pointing in the upward direction. We have new updated daily expected moves. We have 600.07 to the upside, 590.65 to the downside. So something very different from this drop right here to this drop right here, as we're in that same little area, is something very key, which is here you have a slightly strong base. Here you have a very strong base according to your 2-hour, and notice this, the 2-hour is still very much so confirmed up into positive territory. So you are going to see those little 30-minute pullbacks, right? We talked about this a little bit during the live show, how during some kind of squeeze, you want to really pay attention to those little 30-minute pullbacks. As you can see, if we go into an even shorter time frame, a 15-minute, is this overall bearish? Well, it's starting to get the lookings that it could be, but overall, do we have reversal signals up here? No, we don't. Even in the past, we actually had a divergence at these highs, right? We had extreme divergences at these highs. That's why we were notifying about it. Still a very important level for the SPY, but this showed weakness. Did this overall show weakness here at all? No. So most likely this is to fake people out, and then we can see that continue. But it could be people actually taking their risk out before we get some kind of data. That's right. Tomorrow we actually do get unemployment and non-farm payrolls comes on Friday. So tomorrow we will get the JOLTS job numbers. So job numbers are going to be very important going forward, and we can see if those job numbers are good, we're just going to continue the positive trend. 15-minute can curl up into positive territory. We can see some good upside. The main thing about Patreon that we pointed out was, hey, there is a signal, we'll go over it really briefly right now. There is a signal here from Volatility suggesting that that can make an upward move. So watch out if that does happen, if you have lower time to expiration. But other than that, we're just in a positive trend, and the likelihood that this is going to fail is high, right? That was stated in the Patreon. We were like, it looks like we could just shrug this off very quickly. So tomorrow's data will have to help us out in doing that. So if I was paying attention to tomorrow, the downside, we've talked a little bit about upside. I think we're getting close to the weekly, so I think we're more likely to get there. So we're paying attention up here for if we need some kind of bigger pullback later on. But let's talk about if this selling is going to continue. If this selling is going to continue and the 30-minute does need to pull back further, well, we just broke out of a zone. Wouldn't it be nice to go retest in it? And you can't see that red line down here because it's so close to our zone, right? It is right here at 590.65. So this is how I want to treat the market going forward, right? Overall, still a very bullish look, and the only way that we really start to get bearish is if we start to take out these key levels down here. So don't let yourself get fooled because some little waterfall of selling came in again. It's still in a positive trend, and until something changes, like a 2-hour crosses down, we have to talk positively and treat 30-minute drops as opportunities. Qs are where it gets really interesting. That's right, we pointed out the fact that we were making a strong base with all of this behavior in here, and we are very likely to see this go try to get to all-time highs, especially if you can take this out. Now, what do you notice about tomorrow's daily expected moves? Well, we have a point of 530.59 to the upside and 518.49 to the downside. One leads to a gap fill, the other leads to a test of the high, so that's everything we really want to happen tomorrow. Man, if we see an extreme gap up, like if there's extremely good news, that would be very interesting. So let's go into a 30-minute chart here and notice that that is curled down. Now, was I overall worried about this? Well, I have longer dated out options. You guys probably heard me during the live show say, yeah, I sold my pretty much shortest expiration option just in case, right? But I'm able to keep those other ones and then let those ones run because I made some great money there. So what I'm paying attention to here is the fact that the 30-minute was able to cross. So I want to be aware if that can head down and know that the goal, if that is going to head down, is most likely to fill this gap down here. But I think you are way more likely to just see a 15-minute curl up. You see no 15-minute weakness here. We barely had 5-minute weakness here. So I think it is very likely that this is to retest the daily expected move. That's right, the daily expected move sitting right in this area today. And we noticed that we gapped outside of it and then we came back down to test it and we go in the upward direction. So as of right now, if this 15-minute curls up, where are you likely to get to? Well, you might get past 529.78 and you might actually get to 530.59. This is where we will be looking for bigger pullbacks. Not necessarily right now, but we're aware of the target for if they do so, it will be down towards that gap fill for tomorrow. Last thing I just wanted to say briefly about the SPY and the Qs is just the macro side of things, right? The daily still has not confirmed. So we are still making sure that we can take out these levels cleanly, and we might actually need to see some kind of pullback before Friday for that to actually happen. So I just wanted to point that out. You do not have the confirmation of that daily upside move. I think we're going to get it in a few days, but it can take time in here. And then once you bust through, that's when we more so will see squeeze, in my opinion. But I just wanted to point that out. And if you look over at the Qs, we have not curled that up either. Both are in positive territory. You're getting an indecision bar from the Qs here before a news drop or a data drop. So that's fine to see. Tomorrow can maybe clear people up on that. So we'll still be paying attention to if daily charts cross up. And until that happens, we will still be paying attention to weakness in here. We're just not seeing any weakness signals at this moment. So I wanted to clear that up as we finish up the SPY and the Qs. Apple actually did see that upward move directly towards the 5, which is something we were looking for, right? Extremely negative. Apple's the stock that, or one of the stocks that did not have any real reversal signals down here. So we're aware that that would maybe be a little bit lackluster for the next few days until it does want to base out. Now that can base out by getting to the 5 and making a higher low, or if this does want to cross down, it would say you are highly probable to go down and test this low, maybe even go make a new one. Do I think it'll get to a downside weekly expected move? Well, most likely not. So we'll be paying attention to Apple if it forms anything down here, but it still just does not look like the best trade setup in the world. And you're only getting a cross up on the last bar of the day, which is kind of the worst cross up for the 2 hours. So still waiting a little bit more time on this. The main thing to point out and why I keep talking about Apple, even though the setup does not look good right now, is P for patience, guys. P for patience. You got to be patient with these things. And if I missed out on this move, I might be, right? If I missed out on the Amazon, the Meta, and all that kind of stuff that we're going to go over, I might be looking at Apple, looking for that opportunity. So I'm just putting a P there to remind you, Apple could set up something in the near future. So as we pop over to Tesla, that one's a little different, right? Remember Tesla, we were looking for that reaction to test this area. We went a little bit past it. And we said, now that we went a little bit past it, that's actually great because we're able to go positive, which means we can really start to pay attention to higher lows. And that seems to be what's on for now. We'll see if data does change that. We do have some buying pressure coming in at the end of the day. You can see that the 30-minute is pretty damn positive here. That's pretty good. And the 15-minute is about to curl up one more time. So the way that we will be a little bit nervous about this one, as it seems from the breakdown area, maybe doing some kind of cup and handle, okay. The 15-minute curls up. If we start to see weakness in that 15-minute, that's where the warning lights will be blinking. Now we have to realize we are in bullish context, so that could just be another pullback just like this one. So we'll be paying attention to it and mentioning it on this video. But for now, Tesla, great reaction up. We said, hey, down here, you're going to want Tesla to get that reaction up and either go make a divergence or go make a higher low. And right now, it looks like it is trying to confirm a higher low. So that is great for Tesla. We have to see how it reacts to data tomorrow. Amazon, once again, just a great move. Like, it was a great move and a great setup, and this is one that I'm currently in. And no, I'm still in it, actually. I'm going to remain in it for the time being because I was able to sell a different position. That way I can optimize my risk in a certain way, right? I don't have to have too much exposure now, and I can just let my runners run. Amazon is going to be one of those runners. So what are we doing? Well, we're reacting to the key level, and that's very, very important because we need to break through this to really go to all-time highs and curl up up this daily chart down here. So I want this daily to curl up, so I want to take out that level. So how does the 30-minute look? Well, it curled down, but just look how positive it is compared to the last time. Even the last time, going pretty damn far above that at this point. That's a terrible line. I'm sorry about it, but we are higher than this point by a pretty significant amount. And so if we really want to, we could actually back off here even more, right? We could go get that retest of the 5, curl down, see this as a left head and a right shoulder, and end up in the right direction, right? We talked about today why, you know, in a bullish trend without those reversal signals, it's kind of silly to be paying attention to, or at least putting big money behind some kind of head and shoulders to the downside. A lot of the time in bullish trends, you want to be paying attention to the setups to the upside more so than the downside. So if you see a head and shoulders pop up to the upside while we are in a bullish trend on the daily, that's usually a better idea. While the trend is bullish, look for bullish setups. When it goes negative, that's when you look for the negative setups, right? So this here, that's something that I would be aware of. If this has enough juice to go right now, that's fine. But I do expect that if this 15-minute curls up, then we will need to keep doing those little curl downs, maybe to react back down to this area. This area seems very, very important, right? We flushed from that area, flush, kind of a flush right now. So if we break through that, it's going to be very important for us to retest that before we actually head higher. And we'll be paying attention to weekly expected moves in case these 2-hour charts start getting a little bit overbought and we need some kind of 2-hour pullback. But just note, if this thing starts to really ramp up and these stocks start to really squeeze, those 2-hour pullbacks might be pretty sideways and just barely down. So shorting a short squeeze is usually a very bad idea. Nvidia's in a little different story right now because you're seeing a huge reaction to pretty much where the options market was pricing in, how high it was pricing in Nvidia to go. So that means two things. One, are we just squeezing right now for Nvidia, which this is fantastic. I mean, I heard some people say like Nvidia's not going to go to all-time highs. It's actually very, very likely to go to all-time highs, and you're even matching that high almost right now. So very likely as the daily's curling up that you're just going to see more positivity, weekly expected move. Hopefully Patreon members enjoyed that for Nvidia if you were in it, but we'll notice that this one could back off more and it would make sense. So Nvidia kind of saying, hey, I could go either way. It's probably going to be dependent on the data, but if the option market starts to get involved up at these levels towards 155, maybe 154, if we see an upward move, just watch out if we start hitting weekly expected moves and we can see a little bit more of a pullback to retest this 5 as it climbs up. But Nvidia does look pretty good. Right now it is telling you I'm into 30-minute pullback, so that could continue tomorrow. I'd be watching out for the 5 for Nvidia if that does continue. Meta's my favorite. Oh my goodness, look at this thing, and wow, what a trade setup, what a trade so far. Just a fantastic move. We shouted out Meta last week multiple times saying this is my favorite one. The daily scale, look at that, just about to turn up there. Probably going to break through. This one, you know, for this week could break through its algorithms, right? Those algorithms could end up pushing this higher. So something we will be paying attention to by the end of the week, though, as we get unemployment data and things like that, is does this make some kind of top here and curl down into to give us that divergence point, right? We're still paying attention to Meta as our kind of signal for if the market's going to have some weakness. But right now, this is a fantastic move. It's very, very bullish. It's hard to get into these moves right now, and it's hard to short these moves because you can see very brief 30-minute pullbacks. Right, so if you do get a pullback from this, this would be the area to do it, right? If you really look at this thing, if you look, that is a massive cup, and if you get a handle here, that would be fantastic for Meta going forward. But this is just a great move. It's good to appreciate these ones that had great bases, right? Fantastic base, just gives us a lot of credibility to what we were talking about last week when a few people would come into the chat and I'd be like, hey, you can call me a little bit crazy, that's fine. But as we talk about it more and more, I like to see that people understand why this is ending up in the right direction according to technical analysis. So this is fantastic. The 2 hours extremely high up. I just don't see anything bad for Meta. We'll see if data shakes this thing up. Microsoft, even though it was our lackluster signal, it still had one, right? It still had one down there on the MACD, down there on the RSI at the same time. So that's great. I really thought that we wouldn't see this much positivity out the gate, right? I thought we might see something like a little bit short of this, go down for a retest a little bit lower to fake people out. But fantastic move, able to go positive, real strong there, and dipping down for what? Maybe a retest around that 5. So you notice the top of our zone was able to hold as resistance. We curled down, looking for that that to confirm back up, and really the 15-minute might be the only opportunities we get. We don't see reversal signals on the 15-minute, so if that 15-minute can curl up with some data tomorrow, that's where we will be looking for some upside. Kind of great because you're really reacting to a good level, getting that consolidation, and can you break through to the upside? So as long as data goes good tomorrow, I see this continuing, and then if data goes bad, we just got to be reacting, right? We're traders. We don't try to predict where this stuff is going. We just hold things that look bullish. We hold things that look bearish, and then we react when something goes wrong or when we need to take profit, and that's perfectly fine with me. AMC, we're not going to go over this long today. I'm just going to say the thing that we're paying attention to, right? Are the signals good on the daily yet? No, right? They're not there quite yet. But it looks very, very freaking close. So you better be watching if that daily is able to turn up. Yeah, you can still see pullbacks, but as long as that daily is turned up, you can see some good things from AMC, okay? That's all you need to know about AMC. If you want more info on this, look at the previous video and click around whatever time you're looking at right now. But GME is the main one to pay attention to. This is very key. This is going to help you understand these confirmations of these bars. Look at this bar. What did we call it out as yesterday? It's technically a confirming bar on your MACD, but is it a good confirmation? No. This is almost like a fake out bar. You have a positive bar above the 5, above the 9. That is not a confirmation of downside. And so what did we say to watch? Watch if that 2-hour chart's able to curl up, right? And notice that we curled up right there, and that was on the big move. So if you're paying attention to a little bit shorter time frames, you probably could have seen that. But the good part is, since I'm just holding on to the thing, this 2-hour reacted up, and that means we got a shot. We have a shot to do something good. We're still aware if the 2-hour just confirms right back down, they might be really clamping down on this. So we'll look for bad moves here, but this means we do have a chance to get outside of 34.70. So you're kind of liking what GME did today. And I was reading through some orders and just going, wow, there are some big orders for January 17th. And there are some big orders that were made for Friday. So pretty insane there. We'll see if it's able to hold up. VIX going into tomorrow, just so you are aware, this is now closing a little bit below the 200 at this point, right? This is the signal we were pointing out once again, just so you're aware. We're still always aware of weakness, right? A trade's going well. I'm not going to sit there and just watch my trade go up or down. I'm going to look for potential for traps, for potential for tricks in the market. And this looked like the trick in the market. And look at the divergence. Look at the divergence down there on the RSI. Wait a second. Let's really look at this RSI, because this RSI actually comes in lower than the previous point, just barely. And so for me, I go, wow, this thing can really fail actually. This thing might not actually turn up the 2-hour because it's not really a great reversal signal. So there's two things to look at here. If we start to get volatility come in, watch out if the 2-hour crosses up. That can get bad, right? That's where it can get bad. But if this 30-minute just confirms down again, most likely this is all done and we're actually going to trail down towards like 1504 for the time being, right? And the 2-hour actually pointing down means we are likely, as the daily is turned down, to end up down towards 1212 in January of 2025. So I don't think there's a lot to be worried about for volatility. The only thing I'd be worried about is if this 2-hour actually does cross up, because that would be when you might need to react, right? That is when I am going to react and possibly take out some long plays, because if volatility is turning up on a 2-hour trend move, we're probably going to see things dip down a little lower than expected. I'm just trying to make this kind of a concise video where we're like kind of just watching our trades, right? And we're looking if we need to manage anything. And right now I have 2-hour trades and the 30-minute is very, very high up into positive territory. So am I going to manage that when it's in the positive trend? Well, that's my thought at this point, is if I have lower time to expiration, I might take my profit because it looked really, really good. And then the ones that I have longer out expirations for where they have more time to climb higher, I can hang on to those and even use these profits to get back into them if I would like. Now, one thing that I think is the main takeaway is if we do get that to curl up, just watch out for weakness in these areas. We still have, even though we get we get JOLTS tomorrow, well, then the day after that, you're going to get FOMC. Then the day after that, you're going to have an off day in the market. And then on Friday, we are going to get some more jobs data with unemployment and non-farm payrolls. So something that we'll be looking for actually is this, and I'm going to do it at the end of the video because you watch all the way through. Something that I'm looking for here is the 30-minute to move higher, give us some kind of divergence point, maybe even tomorrow. We see things start to back off into Friday, and then we actually touch back into this zone, and that's when we actually curl up into positive territory for the real squeeze. Now, if we really pay attention to this, what would that look like on your charts? Well, that would mean that this is potentially some liquidity we're going to use. We're going to use this zone. We break out of the zone, we set a trap, we drop down a little bit lower, then we see the real move up. And I think that is something that we have to be paying attention to. That is how I think this market would like to move over the next few days, unless we're just going to squeeze right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you want to learn any of this stuff, if you want to learn how I was trading this, why we weren't really scared in this area, hey, you can look in the description down. You can look in the description for the links to our course. It is 90% off in January, as it looks like we're approaching a major top, and the New Year, New Me sale. We like to give people a deal going into the new year to make themselves a little bit better and learn a little bit more. So thank you guys so much for joining. Appreciate you, and I thank you so much for liking and subscribing, and you guys have been fantastic about it. I look forward to streaming with you guys in the morning, all right? Peace out.